Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Locrine and we get to hear from Humber today in Act 2, Scene 6. But oh my goodness, we just finished with Act 2, Scene 4, which basically just has Humber and Hubba and the Scythians getting ready for war, and Albonact and Strumbo and Trompart and all of them getting ready for war over on this side. But what we learned in Act 2, Scene 4 is that as the Scythians were making their way to Albion, they were just burning down villages left and right, and Strumbo's wife, Dorothy, was killed as the entire village in which he lived was burned down. So Strumbo and Trompart are very much in mourning, and they're also very angry at the Scythians and want to get rid of them. So Act 2, Scene 5 is just a real short scene. There's no monologues in it, but it starts out with Humber telling Hubba to take some of the troops and, just sort of go over here and hide so that they're ready, so that they have reinforcements once Albonact and all of the Trojans or Trojans are feeling a little bit weak. Humber has put together some reserves over here that Hubba's going to lead. So then he leaves, and Albonact and Strumbo come in, and they're like, we're going to do this, rah, 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 let's go. And Strumbo's like, oh, this is terrible. And that's the end of Act 2, Scene 5. Act 2, Scene 6, we're going to have a fight scene. We're on the field of battle. And we start out with Humber and his troops, and Humber says, "How bravely this young Briton, Albonact, darteth abroad the thunderbolts of war, beating down millions with his furious mood, and in his glory triumphs over all, moving the massy squadrons of the ground, heap hills on hills to scale the starry sky, as when Briareus, armed with 100 hands, flung forth 100 mountains at great Jove, and when the monstrous giant Monachus hurled Mount Olympus at great Mars, his targe, and shot huge cedars at Minerva's shield. How doth he overlook with haughty front my fleeting hosts, and lifts his lofty face against us all that now do fear his force, like as we see the wrathful sea from far, in a great mountain heaped with hideous noise, with 1,000 billows beat against the ships, and toss them in the waves like tennis balls." Ay me, I fear my Hubba is surprised. And then another alarm sounds. But what he's saying, Humber is actually surprised in this monologue at how ferocious Albonact and his troops are. He thought that this was going to be an easy win. They were just going to go in and sort of wipe them out. But Albonact is actually much stronger, much more fearsome than originally thought. He equates them to several godlike wars, and us looking at the sea out there is what it looks like to see Albonact's troops just keep coming. And then an alarm sounds at the end of this monologue, and he's afraid that Hubba, his reserves, are maybe in trouble. But then another alarm sounds and Humber runs off, and Albonact and his crew run in. They're like, ho, let's do this. And they run off, and then there's like a little bit of fight scene type stuff that happens, and Hubba kills somebody who's not a major character, but somebody on the Albonact side. And then Albonact comes in and runs off, and Albonact comes back in, and he's injured. And of course, he can't be injured without having something to say about that. So he will say tomorrow's monologue in response to his injury. So I'll see you then for that. Mwah.